Hey everybody, I'm Ben.
And I'm Sam.
And this is Counterfeit Christianity. We're back together again. Last week or a couple of weeks ago when we filmed it, Sam wasn't able to come, but that's okay. We'll do it again next time. But yeah, what are we talking about today?
Well, we've been talking about the ancient gods, the pagan gods, in a few recent videos as sort of, beings that influence our world behind the scenes. But we want to talk about three specific ones today.
Yeah.
Which three were those?
So we're going to split it up into 3 different episodes. I'm sort of doing this because I want to sort of play the system a bit. I've noticed that when we talk about this stuff, people care. But when we want to talk about the truth of Jesus, people don't really care so much. So we're going to talk about the truth of Jesus inside of everything, but we're going to focus on these topics that seem interesting. I'm interested in it.
It's understandable too, because Jesus and the gospel have been so bastardized around the world by the church, who use God's message to make money or to control people, or, the Catholics touching kids and dirty stuff like that. People hear the name Jesus.
People don't want to hear Jesus.
They turn off because they don't know who he is. And he's been misrepresented so badly to the world by such bad people.
So that is the truth that we're going to get to all the time. Everything comes back to Jesus and God. Talk about
like
the truth
these
of the
demons
world.
running amok around the world, causing problems and controlling people and destroying civilizations. That's what they do.
Yeah. And also, we got the green screen, so hopefully it works. But this is some new technology for us. So
maybe you can put us in hell. It's where all the Christians think we should be.
So I read the book Return of the Gods by Jonathan Cahn, and it's so cool. I listened to it twice already. I'm so interested in this stuff, so that's why we want to talk about it. But the 3 gods that he talks about most are Baal, and we'll talk. That's who we're going to talk about today. Baal, and then the other one is Ishtar, and the third is Molech. I'm not sure. The pronunciations could be incorrect, but yeah.
I hate their names.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
It's like a dirty word.
Yeah.
It's like talking about filth.
Yeah, because that's what they are. They're filth, and they've tricked the world to think that it's all the people of the world to think that the world is designed one way when it's actually the opposite.
Well, they got thrown down for being traitors, so now they just want to cause as much damage, and mayhem and hurt and pain as possible.
Yeah. Baal is, you also know him as Zeus. He has lots of names. And so in America, a lot of people call him Baal. He actually did have multiple names in different places. So in Canaan, he had there was a bunch, every little town had a different Baal. So they would call him different things. So it makes sense that he's known by lots of different names. People think that Molech and Baal are the same, but this guy, Jonathan Cahn, differentiates it. And the only reason I'm talking about this is because there's certain things that we hear in life and I just know it to be truth. I really want to pass this truth on to people to understand that this world is not owned by God. Only his followers are owned by God. The world and everything in it is owned by the gods. Little g, small g, right? The true living God is God, with whose son is Jesus. And that's who we're trying to focus you on, because that path is super narrow and it's hard to be on the way with him. Everything else in the world is evil. And the only way for it to be good is if you're traveling on this journey with the true living God. Yeah.
Well, I think there's 2 sides. There's good and there's evil.
Yeah.
There's love and there's hate. There's light and there's dark.
Yep.
There's only 2 sides. So, there's a lot of things in the world that are actually good, but they don't realize where the good comes from.
Right. Our culture that we grew up in, I'd say it's not there anymore. The culture that we grew up in had the morals of our true living God.
Some of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah, well, when we were younger, it was slowly coming out. It was just beginning to come out of it.
And I would say, and I think a lot of people agree, that the more you sort of take those morals out of our civilization, the more our civilization decays.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So despite the fact the church is corrupt as hell, I'm not saying the church is responsible for that in a good way. I'm not praising the church. Yeah. But some of the precepts, concepts, etc., that have in our legal system, for example, they've come from God. Yeah, and they did begin with truth, right? It started off at the very beginning when they put them into place with truth and with the living God as the basis of it. But it's become molested. Well, that's what the demons do. They take, because they can't create anything themselves. We were talking about this a bit earlier. They can only take what God has made and twist it, and they twist the truth. It's like the Bible. I was talking to Ben a bit earlier, and he said Jesus is the Word of God, not the Bible. Yeah. And that's an interesting, And I think the church the church has twisted that, right? Saying the Bible is the Word of God,
but it's not. The Bible is stories about God,
and then the church says, you better listen to it the way we read it to you and do what it says, or you're going to burn in hell.
Yeah. So that's like they've taken this pagan ritual of, I believe, Baal worship. That's what I think the church is actually doing now. I think they're worshipping Baal, not the individuals, right? Some of the individuals, they're worshipping the true living God.
Because they mean well in their heart and they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
I think God's pragmatic enough to go, this organization is corrupt, but these people inside it, they have a true heart. They don't understand what's going on, and I love them.
Well, we found God within that, didn't we?
Yeah,
we found God within it.
I found God in a corrupt church.
Yeah.
Well, he found me.
Right. That's it. Actually, that's it. He found us.
I would say God walks through the pews, invisible.
Yeah.
Talking to people,
tapping them on the shoulder. Well, that's what happened to you.
Looking inside their heart.
Yeah. And then the people who are actually in control of it are, even if in their twisted mind they think they're worshipping our God, when they say God, they actually mean Baal. And
then you get all this symbolism around things like
the altar.
Well, the altar is a definite thing. And then the separation and the whole hierarchy, that's not biblical
godly at all. No.
But even, I'm not even talking about the church symbolism. I mean like the symbolism in our everyday lives.
Oh, absolutely.
So like go to Washington, D.C. and you see the giant penis.
Yeah. The phallic symbol.
The phallic symbol.
Yeah.
Or
that's an altar to Ishtar, but we'll talk about Ishtar later. Yeah.
But it's amazing how much of the symbolism and imagery is in our everyday lives, and we're just totally immune to it.
Yeah, it's funny.
Even understand, we can even know that it's written in a book 2,000 years ago, and it's happening right in front of our face. But if you pointed it out, most people are like, surely not.
The being that we're talking about today is Baal, the ancient god. That's probably how it's meant to be said. Sounds like it, doesn't it? Yeah. It's a piece of shit. I always thought that these beings were something in the past and just people worshipping Satan, but they're actually...
it was like mythology. I thought it was like all in people's heads. But maybe it's not. Maybe these beings were revealing themselves to people. Or perhaps, like with Moses, for example, right? He was showing the king miracles and these other people came in and they showed the king counter miracles using evil. Maybe the demons put their power through a particular person and make them do supernatural things. And that's how they steal that influence.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that Baal has used to show himself and still does, there's so many different aspects. We talked about it a bit with the Kadesh and the Kadesha, and we connected that with the Kardashians. So it's like the Kardashians are the shrine prostitutes of our age. So they were shrine prostitutes for Baal. So what that meant back in the day was if you're in it was in Canaan. So the Canaanite women and men sometimes, they would have to at least once go and be a shrine prostitute in their life.
Really?
Yeah. So they would have to go go and have sex with whoever came to the shrine.
So they force everyone into it.
Yeah. I don't know if it was forced, but it probably was.
Well, I mean, we get forced into stuff, even if it's softly, right?
Yes.
Oh, you should do that, or you must do that.
I'm
the
sure
church and government do that
and
sort
then,
of stuff.
the funny thing that would happen after they came back, after that they would be considered a virgin again. And that's what's happening now. Have you noticed that? That people are talking about, there's this idea of being born-again virgins.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard about that.
No.
Yeah, well, I watch some of these podcasts and stuff where
born-again virgins?
Yeah, where these girls become Christians and they consider themselves born-again virgins.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like, I guess the idea makes sense if you're a follower of Jesus, but you're still not a virgin. So if you're
not in practical terms,
no,
but maybe in spiritual terms.
Well, to God you could be, but into the man that you're going to marry, you can't go and call yourself a virgin. But that is exactly what these shrine prostitutes did. They would come back and they would be considered virgins, and then they could go and live their life with their husband. And that's what they used to do that's where the idea of the
Come
Kadesh.
give us your body for a while and we'll say that it's okay to keep living your life. That's gross.
And that's what's happening in our society,
You're right?
These women, they go out and they have sex with 100 men. That's probably a small number now. Under 30 bodies is a small amount. Like back in the day, that's what you were. You were a virgin before you got married. But now, 30 bodies is a small amount. You're a virgin under 30. But that's what happened then. Nothing new under the sun.
Under 30, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just heard people say that.
Is that in like one day? Or?
I don't know.
I mean, if you're a shrine prostitute, probably was.
Yeah, probably. I can imagine the mess.
It might be more than 30. That's gross.
The other thing that Baal is the god of is money. And our culture is based around that. So obviously our culture is the worship of Baal because it's in every aspect. And to be successful in our culture, you have to be making lots of money. right? Otherwise, you're not successful. Like if you're just a family man.
I mean, these days you have to make a decent amount of money to even eat.
Even survive, yeah. But
it shouldn't be that way in Australia.
Yeah, and that's how they've broken up the family, is by having to send out the women to work and the men to work and getting taxed on everything.
And money is a big dividing factor as well, because once you reach a certain level in our society, like a certain level of wealth, it becomes attractive for one person to go, I could leave and take the house.
Exactly. Yeah.
I could have $1 million.
It splits up the family.
And if I take the kids too,
they'll have to keep paying.
They'll have to pay me $50 grand a year as well.
Yep.
And I can go sleep with less than 30 people.
Yeah, and I'm still a virgin. Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, it's exactly what's happening.
I hate the financial entanglement in modern relationships because they're not real.
Yeah.
They're always based around things.
And it's taken over.
What do I get from someone?
Yeah, exactly.
I know someone who is quite sick and they could die any day. And they have this wife who became their wife, and she's about 15 years younger than him. And she used to be quite pretty, but whenever I have spent time with them, I feel like she has zero affection for him. She's literally sitting there going, die, die, die. I want a payout. I want the disability payout. I want the house.
Yeah.
And it's poisoned all the relationships because you never know who really cares about you and who really values your company.
Yeah.
And if you try to do a prenup or something, one, that gets challenged anyway.
Yep.
And two, then it destroys all the trust and destroys the relationship on its own.
Yeah. So the worship of money, the worship of Baal has taken the family.
Yeah. Baal must be doing this on purpose.
Yeah, 100%. He's taken the family. He's taken away the church. Right? What does the church care about now? All money is a business.
Money, money, money.
And so he's taken away everything. Like you said.
And then apparently Ishtar is his wife. So what they do dovetails in together. But we'll talk about her.
Yeah, it's the church is corrupted by him, and I think they're actually worshipping him. And then the family is gone because of him and because of money. He also talks about that big bronze bull in New York.
Is that on Wall Street?
I think it is there. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think it is there. It used to be somewhere else.
Is that like the bronze calf that the Hebrews built after Moses left? Because Moses went up to do the Ten Commandments, or get the Ten Commandments, and then as soon as he was gone, they lost their faith like immediately, and they built a bronze calf.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't lose their faith immediately. Maybe God was with Moses, and so God's left, and then Baal's come in and actually, as a being, he started. Because I think that supernatural beings like demons who are fallen angels, I think they can communicate with people and put thoughts in your head, or they can influence people.
Yep, 100%.
So maybe Baal came into the camp and just started encouraging everyone to worship idols.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that they're still doing the same thing thousands of years later, right in front of our eyes. Yeah. And we don't see it.
It's the same as our culture. It's like when you're not focused on the true living God, our God. This is another reason why we are talking about this, is because I believe that the understanding of the truth is what is actually going to set us free. So we have the true living God, and then we have these other like false gods. And if we don't understand that they are real and they are taking over our world, we cannot know that our God is the true living God and the way to follow, because
know your enemy.
Yeah. Our culture thinks everything is of God. They think this world belongs to God, but it doesn't. The world belongs to these beings and Satan.
That's how they twist the truth.
Yeah.
Because our society had a God basis, and then over time they slowly twist it until they break it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's happening to us. So the worship of money is such a massive thing in our culture.
It's everything now. I remember when my grandfather died, a few years ago, and I never understood how nasty people get over money. Like I had multiple family members, like two of my aunties steal a huge amount of money from my grandfather. They used his bank accounts to wash money for their business and dodge tax from the ATO. They did all this nasty stuff. So people go crazy for it. The worship of money is like so ingrained. Because these are people that I share blood with, right? And they're just happy to shit all over everyone to get a buck. Yeah, it's just terrible. Yeah, and it does. It destroys families and takes away from everything. That could be another connection with like give unto Caesar what Caesar's, because the Jesus way is so far removed from this way that is of Baal, of Satan. The antithesis of the world is Jesus. Does that make sense? It's like the opposite of... I don't know the word, I don't know how to use it properly because I'm a dummy, but the opposite of the world is God. And we don't realize how much different he is because we think that this world is of him. Well, I was always told when I grew up in church that, you should obey the system. You know, you should give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God.
What's the other one we were talking about?
Obey the powers that God has put over you in this world because He established
the government. He put the government in there.
We're dubious about that verse as to whether it's really true.
We think it's not true.
We think maybe it's been doctored to try and make people more compliant because God doesn't agree with the world system.
No.
God doesn't work with them.
And He never has.
No, He hasn't. Remember when the apostles were walking through the field on a Sabbath, on a Saturday, and they are feeding themselves from, getting the wheat or whatever out of the field, and then the Pharisees were complaining and saying, "Oh, they're sinners and they're doing this. They're working on a Sabbath." And Jesus is like, "Shut up, they're hungry."
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't care about your system. I don't care about your rules. I don't care about your religion. These people are hungry. They're going to eat."
That's it. And it's from the very beginning. Adam and Eve got cast out into the world where Satan was like a prowling lion. We're in the world where Satan is prowling. The world of God is separate of this. The only way we can be with Him is if we intentionally follow Him.
With us.
With us, but we have to choose to follow Him, right?
And that's when the world attacks you too.
Yeah.
The world can see that you're different.
So all this stuff that they say is of God is actually not. And part of it is of Baal. And I think the churches are worshipping
Baal.
Yeah. It's freaking foul. So yeah, I'm sure we've made probably answered less questions than we've probably put out into the world. But that's cool. That's what we're doing. We're figuring this out as well. So we've actually got no answers.
We like asking questions. If you think you haven't answered one of the questions we're asking, please write it down.
Yeah, send it.
Put it on a comment or something.
We want to hear the comments and stuff. We've had a few videos that have had a bunch of views and comments.
Especially if you hate us.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
We love putting Christians in their place.
Yeah. The funny thing is, most of the people who watch us tell us how good it is, what we're saying. I've had a bunch of people in the comments and in real life say, "I've never heard anyone speak like you guys." And it's I'm happy to be that. We want to be the voice of
the light of the world and the salt of the earth.
Yeah.
Got to be different.
Yeah. And a
if
knife in Baal's back.
You are different. Baal, I'd kick him in the back of the head, feed him to some crocodiles.
Shit in his mouth. He probably likes it.
He probably would like it.
Yeah, he'd be like, "Oh, yum, 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 give me some of that."
Bale, you creep.
Yeah. Anyway, that's probably it, eh? All right.
Yeah, right.
See ya.